Hello everyone, this is Michael from Ancient Greece Revisited. Once again, welcome to the channel. For the new, thank you very much for being here for the old. Today I want to go off on a tangent that's perhaps going to be a little parallel to what we do with On Tyranny, a little sideshow, which is going to be book reviews, essentially, because I learned most things through books, and some of the books are just very special to me, as I'm sure to you. Some of the books just mark you. You can almost remember yourself as, before and after you read a certain book, whatever that book is. And even besides these great books, there are others that just shape your thinking. And having been doing this show with my collaborators for almost 3 years now, I just thought it was worth mentioning some of the references and some of the citations that you might hear. You might be interested to know that originally, whatever I've written for the show, I had a list of citations next to that document in case someone would ask me, where did you find this, where did you find the other? But no one did, so they're on my hard drive, and you're welcome to ask me for the original copies on my email. But today I want to talk about a book that we haven't mentioned, although we have mentioned the author. It's Walter Friedrich Otto, and we mentioned him quite thoroughly in our episode on Dionysus, which surprisingly is one of our most popular. I say surprisingly because I didn't expect it, and to be honest, if I were to redo it, I would do it a little bit differently, because it was somewhat confusing even to me. It felt like I was just jumping off different tangents there. But it was very, very popular, and I thank you for watching it. That referred to Walter's second book, which was specifically on Dionysus. And the reason he wrote that is that he had written another one on the gods of the Homeric poems called the Homeric Gods. And this is a very, very special book, because one of the things that we try to do in this episode is try to tap into the ancient mindset, try to think like ancients, or try to at least show why we're not thinking like ancients. And there are very, very few people who did. There's a very special school of thought that emerged in Germany between the two world wars, first and second, of which someone like Martin Heidegger perhaps, or Leo Strauss for that matter, were parts of. And Walter Friedrich Otto, lesser known than the two mentioned, was definitely part of that group as Germany was moving into the Second World War, so unfortunately. And Walter Otto, and along with others of his school, did manage to tap into the ancient mind, into the ancient psyche somehow. I do not know why Germany, why the mid-war period, why these people, but he was not alone. Martin Heidegger was another one. Martin Heidegger, in my opinion at least, did manage to think like an ancient Greek, even like a pre-Socratic. It's almost like he had the mind of Heraclitus. And that would be for another of these book reviews to talk about him. But Walter Friedrich Otto wrote this book on the gods of Homer, which I'm going to link in below in all the versions that I can find. And he begins by explaining why the gods of Homer, the original gods of ancient Greece, are so unintelligible for us, why we confuse them. You might know that the gods had become a laughingstock for Christians after Christianity dominated Europe, up until very recently, that is. The Christians would laugh at the ancient gods of how Zeus would go around naked, having sex with various women, and how that can ever be a religion of a serious people. Yet the Greeks were very serious, and you can see how serious they were in their tragedy. So how can it be? How can it be? And Walter Otto begin his book by explaining two very common fallacies, two blockers, two stones that we have to unturn to open the way to understand the ancient Greek gods. One is Christianity, and the other is modernity, the scientific mindset of modernity. Starting from Christianity, what Otto says is that Christianity has turned us inwards, so to speak. We look for divinity in the hidden, the secretive, not in the imminent, what's right in front of us. Surely Jesus spoke some beautiful verses in the Gospels about the here and now, even about nature. He has a beautiful way of describing the wind that bloweth, just like the wind is blowing here. But this is not what has become prominent in Christianity. You can see it in architecture. It's better described there. The ancient Greek temples were infused by the light. They were opened up to the space around them, inviting the light underneath. You might know that the Acropolis, the Parthenon itself, the thatch of the Parthenon was built by a special type of marble, which had the ability to let just enough light so that the whole thing would be ambient inside and out. Christian churches, on the other hand, are not like that. They're enclosed. The treasure they hold is always inside. The golden paint on the images, the chandeliers, they're all internal. And from the outside, they're like these very, very modest buildings. And that's very typical of the Christian soul. You know, the treasures lie within. And after all, we shouldn't forget that Christianity focuses on the afterlife. It's in the afterlife that the true glory lies, right? And this life is but a preparation for this afterlife, which means that first, yes, there is an afterlife, and yes, it is something to seek after. And so I have found from personal experiences that people who call themselves pagans today, even those who run around wearing togas and laurels on their head, pretending to worship the ancient gods, and I know a few in my time, they always focus their attention to the secretive, to the Orphic mysteries, and to the promise of the other life, and to the cults of Dionysus, which is perhaps why our episode was so popular. The ever-dying and ever-living God. It has always to do with something secret, some secret knowledge. Perhaps it's Atlantis, perhaps it's the Hermetic text, of which we've done episodes anyway. So we honor this side. But Walter Friedrich Otto reminds us that this was not the original understanding of religiosity in ancient Greece. This is rather a distortion. This passion for the Hermetic texts, for the occult, for what's hidden, the secret knowledge, the afterlife. That, according to Otto, that is our Christian distorting lenses. When we look at Greek religion, we sort out, we filter out what we seek the most, what we're thirsty. And modern man, for all his comforts, seems to be thirsty for more, for an afterlife that's never here. It's somewhere else, somewhere hidden. You have to travel the oceans or go up in the skies. The second, of course, is modernity, the other blocker. And modernity has done a lot, and it has shaped our minds much more than we understand. One thing it has done is it has turned us very object-focused, object-directed. We think that reality is made up of discrete objects, like these things that you see around me. So likewise, when a modern mind encounters the religion of the ancient Greeks, it imagines perhaps these giant figures, Zeus and Hera and Athena, being these like giant objects, quite literally, these giant men, and women walking on Mount Olympus, being symbolized perhaps by some things like Athena has her owl, Dionysus has grapes and wine, and these two are linked to the person and the symbol. But Walter Friedrich Otto reminds us that this again is a distortion. We have to understand that ancient Greeks might not have been witnessing nature in that very discrete way. And the names that they gave for their gods might have been referring to processes. Okay, so perhaps Athena is not symbolized by the talons of the owl. Athena is the swiftness of the owl's talons. Hermes is the silence of the night in which a thief can move. Zeus is the masculine power of commanding. He does not have the power. He is that power. He's not an object in three-dimensional space and time. He is a process. And as such, he is ever present. And whatever incarnates that process, the gods are there. Walter Friedrich Otto moves from this introduction into speaking about the various gods and their importance. He has special chapters about special gods, Apollo, Artemis, Hermes. And like reading throughout, for some reason, and just relating my personal experience, it was Hermes that stayed with me. Although he was not a god, that I particularly identify with. He somehow reminded me of my father, who was a merchant in his being, in his very being. He was born to be a merchant, perhaps unlike myself, and I can imagine him worshipping Hermes without ever knowing it, because the way Friedrich Otto describes that, if Hermes is a process, if Hermes is the instinct for opportunity, you know, in the Homeric, in Homer's Iliad, you have a scene whereby Hermes guides Priam, the king of Troy, to the Greek camp, where Priam is going to ask Achilles for the dead body of his own son. That's near the end of the Iliad. And of course, Priam is the king of the enemy camp, and if he was to be captured, the war would be lost. So he's torn between his love for his recently killed son and the duty for his city. And Hermes takes him by the hand and shows him a way into the Greek camp and straight into Achilles' tent. And Achilles, when he sees him, you know, it's almost like you're in your house and you turn and there's someone behind you. Although you know you have secured the locks and everything, Achilles knew that it was a god that led him there. So Hermes is not a being separate from everything else. He's this opportunistic understanding. The ancient Greek gods, according to Otto, were a mode of experiencing the world, essentially. To use Heidegger that I recently talked, they were the modes of revealing the world in a specific way. And the world, the same world, like this area, this field that we're in, can be revealed in different ways. It can be seen as an opportunity, as we did entering through the back door just to shoot this little clip. That was Hermes. There was a hermetic revelation of this place. And there could be others. There could be an erotic, Venusian, Aphroditean revelation where all beings mingle with each other. And one way to think of the plants that's surrounding us is that they're always having sex, because they're always producing the seeds that are then going to fall on the earth and create new life. So one way that this could be revealed is like a giant orgy. And the Greeks told us that there are 12 ways, 12 modes that the world is being revealed to us. The same world, the same objects, to use the modernity. And Hermes is always the world revealing itself as an opportunity to be taken, just like with the story of Priam. And I recommend this book to everyone because, quite frankly, I'm a little tired of a lot of people calling themselves pagans, where they're essentially disappointed Christians. They're Christians, but they just don't connect to Christianity the way they would like to connect. And so they seek they seek their spiritual nourishment somewhere else. But if you really want to understand the ancient Greek mind in its own terms, like we do, this book, along with the other books from Walter Otto, like the one on Dionysus, is the way, at least the way to start. So I'm going to stop here, and I hope you enjoyed this review. Leave us a comment below of whether you would like more of these reviews. Thank you very much.